Have you ever noticed that the smartest person in the room is often the quietest? That the most brilliant minds seem perfectly content sitting alone while everyone else craves social validation? Here's a question that might make you uncomfortable. What if preferring solitude isn't a sign of social awkwardness, but rather a mark of exceptional intelligence? Today, we're diving into the fascinating psychology behind why highly intelligent people genuinely prefer being alone. And before you dismiss this as just another excuse for antisocial behavior, I want you to consider something. What if the need for constant social interaction says more about insecurity than intelligence? What if the most evolved minds have simply figured out something the rest of us are still struggling to understand? If you've ever felt more energized after a night alone than a night out with friends, and you're curious about what that says about your mind, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're about to explore territory that most people are too uncomfortable to acknowledge. Let's start with the most obvious truth that nobody wants to talk about. Intelligent people aren't avoiding social situations because they can't handle them. They're avoiding them because they see right through them. Think about the last social gathering you attended. How much of the conversation was genuinely meaningful? How many people were actually listening instead of just waiting for their turn to talk? How much of the interaction was authentic connection versus performative socializing? Here's what happens when you have an above-average IQ. You start recognizing patterns that others completely miss. You notice that most small talk follow predictable scripts. You see people asking questions they don't actually care about the answers to. You observe the subtle power dynamics, the unconscious status games, and the desperate need for validation hiding behind casual conversation. This isn't cynicism, it's pattern recognition. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. It's like watching a magic trick after someone's explained how it's done. The illusion is shattered, and suddenly participating in it feels exhausting rather than entertaining. Intelligent people develop what psychologists call cognitive burden. Every social interaction requires them to operate at multiple levels simultaneously. They're having the surface conversation while also analyzing body language, detecting logical inconsistencies, predicting where the conversation is heading, and often consciously dumbing down their vocabulary and ideas to maintain social harmony. Imagine having to translate every thought through 3 different filters before speaking. Imagine constantly calculating whether your honest opinion will be too complex, too controversial, or too far ahead of the conversation. That's the mental reality for highly intelligent people in most social settings. And here's the part that really isolates them. The smarter you are, the fewer people exist who can actually keep up with how your mind works. Let's do some simple math. If only 1% of people qualify as highly intelligent, what are the odds that you'll randomly encounter someone who thinks at your level at a typical social gathering? The statistics aren't in your favor. This creates a profound form of intellectual loneliness. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone because nobody truly understands the way you process information. It's like being fluent in a language that almost nobody else speaks. So, intelligent people make a logical choice. They stop investing energy in shallow connections that drain them and instead redirect that energy toward pursuits that actually stimulate their minds. This isn't antisocial behavior, it's resource management. Which brings us to another uncomfortable truth. Intelligent people are exceptionally picky about who deserves their time and attention, and they should be. Your time and mental energy are finite resources. Intelligent people understand this on a fundamental level. They've calculated the opportunity cost of every relationship, every social obligation, every casual hangout, and most of the time, the cost outweighs the benefit. This creates what looks like social aloofness, but is actually strategic selectivity. Intelligent people would rather have 2 or 3 profound friendships than 20 superficial ones. They'd rather spend Friday night reading a challenging book than making small talk at a party. They'd rather invest hours in solitary creative work than waste those hours on obligatory social performances. The average person sees this and thinks something's wrong, They project their own fear of missing out, their own need for constant validation, their own discomfort with silence onto the intelligent person's choices. But the intelligent person isn't suffering. They're thriving in a way that others simply can't comprehend. If you're finding this perspective refreshing and you want to dive deeper into how exceptional minds operate differently from the average, don't forget to subscribe. We're just getting to the most fascinating part. Now, let's talk about what intelligent people are actually doing when they're alone, because this is where the real magic happens. Solitude for intelligent people isn't empty time to be filled. It's prime real estate for the mind to operate at its highest capacity. Without the cognitive burden of social interaction, without the need to filter and translate thoughts, the mind can finally run at full speed. This is when breakthrough ideas emerge. This is when complex problems get solved. This is when creative work reaches flow state. This is when philosophical understanding deepens. All the achievements we associate with genius, from scientific discoveries to artistic masterpieces to innovative solutions, were born in solitude, not in social settings. Intelligent people have discovered what psychologists call solitary stimulation. Their minds are so active, so curious, so engaged with ideas that they genuinely don't need other people to feel entertained or fulfilled. They can spend hours lost in thought, exploring intellectual rabbit holes, making connections between seemingly unrelated concepts, or simply observing and analyzing the world around them. Where the average person feels bored or lonely in silence, the intelligent person feels liberated and energized. The silence isn't empty, it's full of possibilities. And here's something most people never consider. Intelligent people often have completely different schedules than the average population. Research consistently shows that higher IQ correlates with later bedtimes and unconventional work hours. The most brilliant minds are often night owls who do their best thinking when the rest of the world is asleep. This isn't just a preference, it's when their brains are most active, most creative, most capable of complex problem solving. But it also means their peak hours don't align with normal social hours. While everyone else is unwinding with evening plans, intelligent people are just hitting their stride mentally. This natural misalignment further reinforces their preference for solitude. There's also a deeper psychological reason that's rarely discussed. Intelligent people don't seek external validation the way average people do. They've developed what's called internal locus of evaluation. Their sense of worth, their confidence, their satisfaction comes from internal achievement and understanding rather than external approval. Think about what this means. The average person needs other people to feel good about themselves. They need likes, comments, compliments, social proof that they matter. They need to be seen, acknowledged, validated by the crowd. Intelligent people have transcended this need. They know their worth isn't determined by how many friends they have or how popular they are. They measure success by their own standards, by intellectual growth, by creative output, by problem-solving capability, by the depth of their understanding. This internal validation system makes solitude not just tolerable, but preferable. They don't need a crowd to feel important because they've found something more reliable: self-respect earned through genuine achievement and continuous learning. But perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of intelligent solitude is this: it's not about disliking people, it's about liking themselves enough to be selective. Intelligent people aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They don't hate humanity, they just have very specific criteria for who deserves access to their mental and emotional space. And the vast majority of people simply don't meet those criteria, not because they're bad people, but because the connection lacks the depth, intellectual stimulation, or mutual understanding that makes the investment worthwhile. This selectivity extends to how they handle social conflicts. Intelligent people have zero tolerance for drama, gossip, or petty disputes. They see these social dynamics for what they are: pointless energy drains that accomplish nothing. While everyone else is getting caught up in who said what about whom, intelligent people are working on projects that actually matter. They've done the math. Every hour spent dealing with interpersonal drama is an hour not spent learning, creating, or solving meaningful problems. The opportunity cost is too high, so they simply opt out. They create boundaries, maintain distance, and preserve their peace. The result is a life that might look lonely from the outside, but feels profoundly rich from the inside. A life where solitude isn't something to be feared or filled, but something to be cherished and protected. A life where being alone means being fully present with yourself, your thoughts, your potential. Here's the final truth that ties everything together. Intelligent people prefer to be alone because they've discovered what most people spend their entire lives avoiding: themselves. The average person fills every moment with noise, distraction, and social activity because silence is terrifying. Silence means confronting your own thoughts, your own insecurities, your own existence without the buffer of other people's presence. Most people can't handle that. Intelligent people not only can handle it, they crave it. They've learned that the most interesting conversations are the ones you have with yourself. The most honest feedback comes from introspection. The most reliable company is your own mind. This doesn't make them superior, it makes them different. And understanding this difference is crucial, whether you're an intelligent person trying to understand your own social patterns or someone trying to understand the brilliant but distant person in your life. The solitude of intelligent people isn't a problem to be solved, it's a feature, not a bug. It's the necessary condition for their minds to operate at peak performance. It's the protective space that allows depth of thought in a world that increasingly rewards shallow engagement. So the next time you see someone choosing a book over a party, silence over small talk, or solitude over socializing, don't assume something's wrong with them. Consider instead that they might have figured out something profound, that the most valuable conversations aren't always with other people, that the deepest connections aren't always social. And sometimes, the smartest choice you can make is to be comfortably, unapologetically, productively alone. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign to do it right now, especially if this video gave you that finally someone understands feeling. And don't forget to leave a like if you found this perspective valuable. I've got another fascinating video lined up for you about the unusual habits of highly intelligent people, so click on that next video on your screen to keep exploring what makes exceptional minds tick. I'll see you there.